there's a lot of different vocabulary out there for alters and for people with DID. Our preferred language is system, so we refer to ourselves as a system, and we refer to each other as system members. So just for ease of the video, I'm going to use those terms, but I mean headmates, alters, personalities, whatever you call them, that's fine. It's up to you. It's a personal decision. Don't feel pressured into taking some word that someone else has given you. It's your choice what you want to be called. So systems can be anywhere from 2 members to hundreds of members. They can get big or they can be very small. Both are documented. If a system has subsystems, it is called polyfragmented DID. So a subsystem would be if a system member were to, say, have so much trauma that they themselves developed DID and had system members themselves. Now I know that that's a kind of maybe a hard thing to grasp, and I can very well do another video on polyfragmented dissociative disorder, but that's a brief overview of what it is. Some people with DID have internal headspaces, some don't. Both are totally normal. Some people's headspaces are just like shadowy darkness. Some are a room, some are houses, some are cities, some are universes. Like, it's literally, it's something that's developed at such an early age in childhood, and when you're a child you're so imaginative, and so that comes, I personally think, into play with your own internal world and, you know, how things look and the landscape and all of that. System members can be any gender, age, ethnicity. They could be animals, they can be inanimate objects. System members can be pretty much anything. System members, if they have an internal headspace, may live by themselves, isolated, maybe not on purpose, maybe on purpose, or they could live very closely with other system members. It all depends. So treatment for DID. There are a lot of treatment options when it comes to DID, but no one treatment option is going to be right for everyone. You know, it's all totally personal. It's all up to the system. So I'm just going to name a bunch of treatment options that may or may not work for you. Medication, talk therapy, art therapy, self-help books, joining DID communities, journaling, yoga specifically designed for trauma, service animals or emotional support animals, accommodations either at work or at school or whatever you're doing, equine therapy. Like, there are a lot of options out there, and I think that developing the right treatment program for yourself it takes time, and it isn't going to be just one thing. It's going to be a combination of the right treatments at the same time, I think. But if we're talking actual talk therapy, DID treatment protocol, there are specific guidelines given by the ISSTD. And it is that there are 3 stages to DID therapy. establishing safety, stabilization, and symptom reduction is first. And for a lot of people with DID, that takes a long time because personally, I mean, for example, I do not have a very good distress tolerance. So something that might seem minor to someone else may be very, very, very distressing to me. So maybe in terms of stabilization, that could be taken into account. Safety, if there are self-harm issues, if maybe someone's still in an abusive situation, that needs to be addressed first before anything else can be done. And symptom reduction. So trying to get at an equal place, a safe place, a good, solid base to work off of. The second is confronting and working through and integrating traumatic memories. So that's the hard stuff. That's talking about the shit that you don't want to talk about. That's going through the worst of the worst. If you've been through trauma therapy, you know what I'm talking about. It is draining. It is beyond, and it's not an experience I could relate to any other experience I've ever had. It is intense. And then the third step is identity integration and rehabilitation. So I think what I believe that means is that they are saying the third goal is essentially integration. Whereas, personally, I don't believe that integration is the only option. I believe that, it's your choice. If you want to integrate, that's awesome. Good for you. I think that's awesome. But there are people who don't want to integrate, and good for them. I think that's awesome. If you can live together and cooperate peacefully, I don't think one is better than the other. I think it's all personal and up to the system, and, it's just, yeah. I think it's a really personal choice. So these are just some facts that I want to leave you with. So the one thing that really gets me is that people think that if you have DID, you will never know that you have DID. That makes no sense. Like, okay, obviously there was a period of time before I realized that I had DID, but, there are some pretty obvious indicators, at least there have been in my life, of the presence of a dissociative disorder. I know I have DID. I've talked about it for years with my therapist. I've been diagnosed. I know I have it. I know that there are other system members than me. It's so ridiculous to hear that. It's obscene. So between 0.1 and 2% of the population, of the general population, has DID. So the DSM-5 places this prevalence at 1.5%. Now, I would like to point out that that is the exact same prevalence of schizophrenia. Let that sink in. We aren't this, rare mythical unicorn that you only see on a blue moon if you've aligned the candles just right. We're, it's a trauma-based disorder. Trauma happens. We need to get over this idea that it is super rare and, it's not. It's the same rate as schizophrenia, dude. Just deal with it. Accept it. In clinical populations, so in patient treatment programs, the number can be up to 10% of the population. 10%. That is serious. And especially when you think about the amount of doctors who are uneducated about DID. I think that's a really huge problem all over the world right now. Contrary to popular belief, DID is not a Western phenomenon. It's just not. Most of the studies I've read come out of the Netherlands, but to quote didresearch.org, some very forward-thinking research regarding DID comes from the Netherlands, Turkey, Puerto Rico, and New Zealand. Also, Canada, the US, yes, all the Western countries too. But we're talking, this is a global phenomenon. Let's get our heads out of the sand, admit what's going on, and let's learn about it. It's a mental illness. It's no scarier than any other mental illness. So I really, really appreciate if you've taken the time to watch this video today. I have really appreciated the feedback from the last video, and I love hearing from you guys, and I really just hope that I can spread some awareness out there about dissociative identity disorder. And yeah, so this is Abby signing off. Have a good night.